either you're Wednesday or Friday, and it's not Friday, but it's Wednesday, and it's time for your Berkshire Hathaway bi-weekly podcast. Joining us in the studios this week, your realty expert, John Brodeen. We have got all kinds of fun things to talk about, and we'll be right back with John Brodeen for Berkshire Hathaway after this.
Look, if home feels too big, let's get you a smaller one. And it's okay if the process seems daunting or you're having a hard time letting go. Because our network agents have the expertise to help you downsize and get you to just the right size. Now, let's go get you home.
Hey, how about that? You ever get into one of those commercials yourself, John?
No, they won't hire me. I'm too ugly.
Well, quit getting beat up in the ring all the time. How you been?
Good, man. How about you?
Good. Been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Anything new in your world? New and exciting going on?
I'm currently working on buying a rental property, so or I've got one under contract closing soon, so working on lining things up for that. Carolyn and I are redoing our kitchen. That's getting a little closer.
Oh, boy.
So picking out stuff for that. So fun stuff.
Will this be your first rental property that you own?
Nope. It's a duplex, so it'll be my fourth and fifth units.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, are you turning into a slumlord?
No, my stuff's pretty decent.
Good.
I don't
Okay.
like the crappy stuff because if you got the lowest rents in town, you're also going to be having the biggest headaches in town. That's for
Sure. And I would imagine when you have a little bit of a nicer place, it's probably easier to get good renters that maybe stay a little longer.
Yep, it is. And the other thing is, when you've got decent places, when the market goes up, you're going to get better appreciation on those properties. They're in better neighborhoods. Basically, like the ceiling is higher for how much that property could be worth one day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned when the market goes up, what is the market like now?
Yeah, so the market's doing great still. The busiest month of the year for pendings was May. So we're almost to the end of June. We've still got a day where pendings and closings could be going through. The month of June saw 73 homes go pending. There are currently 29 homes active contingent upon home inspection, 164 active listings on the market. That includes those 29 active home inspection deals. 113 new listings hit the market during June. 117 homes closed during June. That's by far the highest number of closings so far this year. That was a lot of, the houses that went under contract in April and May that closed during June. Out of those 117 closings, average days on market of 98 days. Average sale price a little higher than usual, $274 and some change. Now, a month is a pretty small sample size, so I wouldn't put too much into that number because that, we had a month where the average sale price was $234, which, at the end of the year, we'll do a year recap and see what the actual average sale price was over the course of the whole year. When you take the number of active listings divided by the number of pendings, we get the months of inventory. That's how we find out if it's a buyer's or seller's market. Lately, it's just been finding out how strong of a seller's market it is.
Yeah.
Anything under 6 months is a seller's market. It's at 2.25 months of inventory. So it would take 2.25 months for all of those 164 listings to sell if they continued selling at the same rate and no new listings hit the market.
Wow.
It's actually been going up. Like the lowest month was April at 1.82 months. Then it was at 2.01 months in May, and in June, if everything stays about where it's at 2.25.
All right. You mentioned, I think you said 98 days average on the market. Is that about typical?
That's actually a lot lower than average.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. The last few years have averaged anywhere from, around 120 to 140 days on market when you look at the whole year. Now, it's a small sample size, so it could just be a coincidence. Yeah, that's very low. And you're probably seeing a contract to close time of about 50 days. So that means, out of those 117 closings, on average, those houses accepted offers, within 40 days or in about 40 days of listing on average. So,
does anybody ever do the contract for deed thing anymore?
no, there's not much. So whenever anybody asks you if you're willing to do contract for deed, first off, the house has to be paid off. Not very many people have paid off houses because the bank's not going to allow you to basically do another loan to somebody else while you're still being required to pay them because
Right.
they don't know that you're going to underwrite that new person properly. And usually if somebody's asking for contract for deed, it's because usually the biggest issue is credit, or they have kind of some sort of unconventional source of income where they can't qualify for a loan yet because maybe the bank is requiring a longer history of them making this income, whether they're self-employed or there's some other situation happening there. And with how low interest rates are right now, there's really not
Right.
much point to it.
I know a guy owned a big bar down by the Twin Cities
Okay.
and sold it for contract for deed. And he did this like 5 times over the period of 7 years. And he came out smelling like a rose on that thing because, you'd get a new buyer in there. They'd pay, make their payments and then default on a payment. He gets it back.
Yeah.
And it happened over and over and over again.
He probably struck, and it is more common to do, different sorts of seller financing in the commercial world. Financing a portion of it and the bank financing the other portion of it. There's a lot more creativity that happens in the commercial real estate world. But likely what he was doing is he was requiring a substantial down payment from each person to cover his risk. And, if they don't pay, then he actually comes out ahead because he secured that down payment from them that buyer doesn't get back. So I'm not surprised at all that he came out good on it. That's
I didn't mean to get you off topic.
no,
here,
no,
but,
no. That's okay. I love those questions. That's a great question. The interest rates are still at 2.875. We just were mentioning interest rates. It's still very low. That's a big incentive for people to move right now.
Yeah.
They want to move while that interest rate's low. It creates a lot of demand. So typically, the active listings are at 164 right now. That's the highest it's been so far this year
So there's 164 houses on the market right now.
in the city of Grand Forks.
Okay.
Residential only. So
Okay.
whenever I give you these numbers, I should just specify it's Grand Forks only, residential only.
Okay.
That's what we're interested in. So 164 listings on the market, but at the end of May, beginning of June, there were 152. At the end of April, there were 135. At the end of March, there were 155. At the end of February, there were 138. Usually, the highest number of active listings is going to be around August or September in that late summer months. The strongest sellers market of the year is when there's the most activity in comparison to the active listings that are on the market. Usually, the highest activity months in comparison to how many active listings there are going to be like April and May.
So it's almost like a spring and fall thing, isn't it?
Yep, it's very seasonal. And then in the wintertime, you're going to see the fewest active listings on the market, but dramatically fewer houses going pending. Like if I just look at how many houses went pending in December, it was 42. So that's practically half of the busiest month of the year so far, 79.
Wow.
So it's a very seasonal market. That's just the way it goes. And the strongest sellers market almost every single year is that, late spring, early summertime. That's when inventory hasn't caught up. You see the inventory get higher late summer because activity maybe starts to slow a little bit. Some of those listings that were maybe overpriced are going to be sitting around for a little while, that sort of thing. So.
Now, you say 164 houses now on the market in Grand Forks. How many of these have you actually seen?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I would say maybe like in person, maybe like 30 some, roughly.
Yep.
It really depends which price ranges I have buyers in at the time, how many buyers I'm working with. There's times when I'm not working with as many buyers, but I'll have a lot of listings of my own.
Sure.
And then there's other times where maybe I'll have a few different buyers, so I get really, I'm in pretty much every house in a certain price range that's on the market.
Now, you mentioned the 2.875% interest rate.
Yes.
Now, what was the lowest it got to? Do you remember?
Well, I do have it written down if you could give me a second here. The lowest that it's been, so the lowest that it's been in 2021 is 2.625, and that was back in January. It was at 2.625 in late 2020. Yeah, and I think that's, so I think 2.625. It might have hit 2.5 for a very short time. And there's a certain lender that sends out their rates every.
Yeah,
you know.
and the reason I ask you that is because we all knew that it was going to start going up, and obviously it is now at 2.875%. So, I mean, this is still a hot time.
Yeah.
If you're looking to buy yourself a new home.
Yeah, and they rose slightly. So you saw 2.625, then it jumped up to 3. It was at 3 at the end of February. Then at the end of March, it was at 2.99, and then since then it's been at about 2.875. So, I don't see it wouldn't be very wise for them to raise rates dramatically, just because that just really affects the affordability of houses for the average person. They don't want to do that. The reason they subsidize loans is to be able to offer lower interest rates so that homes are more affordable. However you feel about that, that's just the way it is. So they don't want to really go back on that, because that kind of hurts the consumer, and it makes home ownership less possible for, people.
Do you have a house now under your listing or whatever that is just driving you nuts because you haven't sold it? Is there just that one in your mind you're thinking, why in the world aren't people making offers on this? Or does that not happen very often with John Brodeen?
Doesn't happen very often with John Brodeen. You can ask the agents at my office, but I had one that was a 1-bedroom, and it's a little harder to sell a 1-bedroom, and that took longer than my average listing takes to sell. It was a little bit of a struggle, but we actually still set the record for the highest 1-bedroom sale in MLS history.
Wow.
It was a nice little place. It's just the problem is there's not that many people in the market for a 1-bedroom, and at the time, the lowest end price range was a little bit down. There was a lot of active inventory sitting down, and that's changed. That was kind of in the late winter that was the case, and that's changed now. There's fewer. It's balanced out again. So there used to be where there was kind of a soft spot in the market where it was the low price point stuff was all really sitting around for quite a while. Now that's really balanced back out, and it's looking good again.
Well, you always hear people are looking to upgrade and get bigger. Yeah. But then once you get to be like my age, and all of a sudden you're an empty nester in a big house, people start to think about downsizing.
Yeah. And when I see people who are retiring and wanting to downsize, moving out of their big house with 4 bedrooms and I see a lot of those people really gravitate towards the single level, like 2-bedroom townhomes that are newer, all on one level, nicer though, newer. And they're a little smaller because they don't have a basement. And they're all on one level, but they're still a fair size. There's 2 bedrooms, so there's a lot of living area. They have a 2-stall garage still. I've had many clients who are in that same mindset gravitate towards those type of homes in Grand Forks.
Well, I know that's what I envision. One day is everything on one floor. And if I could, somebody to do my shoveling and my mowing.
And that's what you get with those,
Exactly.
And you can still get a nice big garage in a lot of cases, plenty of storage, nice big living areas. When you don't have to have 4 bedrooms packed into a house,
right?
It feels like a big house because you have so much living area. The kitchens are wide open. They're very nice.
Yeah, and if you want the relatives to come over, just pitch a tent in the backyard for them, and they'll be fine, right?
Well, yeah, and then maybe there's less expectation there. If you
Oh,
well, we really only have 1 extra bedroom, and it's set up as an office now. So
yeah.
There's a great hotel down there.
With all the amenities. Yeah. I tell you what, how does somebody get a hold of realty expert John Brodeen?
Cell phone, text message, or call 701-213-5428. Also follow my Facebook business page for regular market updates, lots of educational information for local homeowners. That's John Brodeen, Berkshire Hathaway Realtor on Facebook.
Now, we're going to be seeing you again on Friday, so don't go get beat up between now and Friday, okay?
I'll try to stay pretty until then.
All right. Try hard. There you go, John Brodeen. He's your realty expert with Berkshire Hathaway. And if you're thinking about buying or selling a house with John Brodeen and it maybe needs a little tweaking, get a hold of Executive Properties. They do all types of commercial and residential work, whether you need a new bathroom or kitchen or a garage. Check out the reviews on Facebook and Google. You're going to love their work. Or go to executiveproperties.org or call 701-330-1273. With Executive Properties and Berkshire Hathaway, have that perfect house. John Brodeen will be back on Friday. But for today, there you go. That's your Berkshire Hathaway Biweekly Podcast.